of you. I'm Dr. Mrs. Sudha Bhide. I retired as Professor of Zoology from the Government Institute of Science with the additional charge as the Director IAS Coaching Center. Presently, I'm the Director of Sudha Bhide Maniyar College of Computer and Management in Karamna. Many of my colleagues are here, and of course, those who were associated with me when I was in the institute are also over here. We have assembled here to pay homage to Dr. Gopalakrishna. I am told that I have to speak about Dr. Gopalakrishna. He was born on 20th October 1922 to A.M. Sanjeevaya and Srimati Sanamma in Chamargarh in Karnataka. His native town was Alkalgud. He had his early education in Malleswaram High School and joined the Medical College, Mysore, for 2 years but left for personal reasons. He studied for his intermediate and BSc degree at the Central College, Bangalore, and stood first in the university in the final year BSc examination. He joined his alma mater as lecturer and he obtained his DSc degree from Mysore University in 1958. He joined the Institute of Science in the year 1946, before I was born. His dedication towards his profession and polite and helpful nature ensured a fast and steady rise from lecturer to professor. 29 students, PhD students to his credit, and he retired in 1981. After his retirement, he held the post of Emeritus Scientist under CSIR up to 1987. Now, his own guide, Dr. M.A. Moghe, his photograph was there in the zoology department. It was he who told him that Chiroptera, the order to which bats belong, is one order which is unexplored, and thereafter he made the study of bat biology, and there was no looking back after that. This is the list of his students in his own handwriting. 31 students of his, and not only that, look at that. Dr. Jayant Sahasrabuddhe, he is written over there. Dr. Sahasrabuddhe, he was not awarded PhD. He told me that the thesis went to a blind person and so he was not awarded the PhD. Later, he worked with Mrs. Sabkar and he got his PhD. It was so straightforward and so honest about everything. For my own thesis, I still remember, he gave me 6 species of bats. And when I completed 6 species, he said, you have to work for 6 more. I said, oh my God, starting all over again. But there was no question of saying no. You've got to do it, means you've got to do it. So I started all over again, but in retrospect, I realized that it was a good thing that happened to me. Because I was awarded a project by CSIR and I published a paper which is been quoted widely. The paper is Payer's Patches are Precocious to the Appendix in Human Development. Now, we collected some 40 specimens and I still remember it was Mrs. Sabkar who got me the first specimen in which I could see the Payer's Patches and Appendix from the neighboring doctor, I think it is a Dr. Tamaskar. From Tamaskar clinic, she brought me a 5-month-old specimen, and that's when I got to see that the Payer's patch was just being formed. And we were the first to demonstrate the antigenic surface markers on the Payer's patches and appendix, and we are the first to show that the 5th month of human pregnancy is earmarked for the development of the largest organ of the lymphoid system, that is the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And the surface markers you can see over there, pre-B, that is CD19, then B cells, CD9, then CD3, T cells, CD4, T cells, CD8, natural killer cells, and CD57. So all these surface markers, we identified that the 5-month period is earmarked for the development of gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And God willing, maybe after a few years, we hope to be somewhere in the Gray's Anatomy. That is one of my best papers. Now, the training and the rigor that we went through while working for the thesis made us into true researchers. Be objective, be truthful. While writing, he used to say, there is no scope for fiction in science. The entire zoology department was always agog with activity. Some students were doing microtomy, some students were doing photography, some were typing. The first thing that we had to do after joining for PhD, including Mrs. Sabkar, we had to go to Bardi for 6 months and learn typing because we had to type our own thesis. He used to click photographs for us, and then we had to do photography, 6 copies for the 6th thesis. Then some of us were writing, some of us were sitting with him doing correction. The department was always agog with activity. We had to write a thesis several times, and Dr. Bhalchandra tells me he wrote it 7 times and he has bound all the 7 volumes. So after thesis writing, it was quarter-final typing. Then it was semi-final typing, then final typing. We had typewriters. All of us had contributed money for the purchase of a typewriter. There were no computers then. Then he used to click photographs for us, and we used to do the printing of photographs. Now you see, PhD thesis was at that time a fun activity. Tea time was often storytelling time from Mahabharata or whatever. Then we had every milestone in our PhD was party time. Photography complete, party. Quarter-final typing, party. Semi-final typing, party. Final typing, party. Thesis submission, party. Irrespective of all this, Thursday was party day. Parties, of course, were very simple. They were just for some eats from Bardi. That's all. And it was a combination of very, very hard work and enjoyment. During summers, he used to bring lots of mangoes and cut them, and we used to all eat together, sit and eat them together. There were mango shakes. Then he sometimes brought us lots of heap full of aloo bondas from Cafe Vrindavan, Bardi. So besides PhD, there were many life lessons that we all learned from him. He taught us to be prompt, to work hard, to be ever ready for work, no laziness, and to enjoy work, and we really enjoyed. Now this we took over to our students also, and parents of one of my students said, "He Yashasri, माहिती नाही आम्हाला म्हणते तुम्ही सगळं हळूहळू काय करता, भरभर करा ना जरा." After joining for PhD, she keeps on saying that you must be quick in your activities. So this is what we learned from him. He was a giant in everything that he did, always with a foresight. All his students vow, even today, that they are what they are because of him. Now, all the students got together and instituted a gold medal in his name. That's the photograph when the gold medal was instituted. All of us standing up over there, all his students and staff from the institute. That's Dr. and Mrs. Gopalakrishna. Then he got the Best Teacher Award from the government of Maharashtra. His work in the arena of science is very vast. And he got in 1955, he was awarded the Research Fellow Scholarship at Rockefeller Institute in New York. He did not, at that time, there was paucity of funds. He did not have funds. So he gave concerts. He was a great sitarist. He gave concerts in the US as well as India to pay for his stay over there. Now his commendable work in the sphere of research has earned him the sobriquet of Batman. He is the Batman, and was the main speaker at international conferences. At Bat Research Conference in Albuquerque in USA in 78, in Aberdeen in 95, and he also attended the International Science Conference at Lismore in Australia, and in 87 he was invited as a visiting professor at Tufts University, Boston. That was his conference in Australia, where he went over there. Then there were many foreign visitors. They used to come and stay with him to learn from him. 3 months, for 3 months, Dr. Luckett came and stayed with him. Then Dr. Kunwar Bhatnagar, he was a clinician. He died just last year. He had come to meet him and gather knowledge from him. Dr. Bedford was also here with him to learn from him. Then Dr. Rasweiler, he had come to the zoology department. That's when the conference was there on bat research. That's Dr. Gopalakrishna speaking. Then that's another conference. You can see Muni Khan from this very department, professor of zoology. That's Dr. Gopalakrishna, that's me, and that's Nilima Badvaik, one of his post-grad students. Now that's Dr. John Rasweiler with Dr. Gopalakrishna, Mrs. Gopalakrishna, and Nilima Badvaik. That's again Mrs. Sabkar. Then Dr. Gopalakrishna and Nilima, I think that was in Australia. Then the three of them, Dr. Gopalakrishna, Muniawar Khan, and Mrs. Sabkar. He was a member of numerous scientific bodies in India and abroad: International Population Council, Indian Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Sciences, Zoological Society of India. He was a very good cricketer too. Whatever he did, he was excellent in it. According to Dr. Madhavan, with his continuous yearning for knowledge, after his retirement, after he had stopped research, he became a Sanskrit scholar. So the yearning for living was continuous with him. Now that is his family, Dr. Gopalakrishna, that's Mrs. Gopalakrishna, and that is Ishwar. He did his civil engineering from BRCE and structural engineering from IIT Delhi. Presently he is in Australia. The last one over there is, then it's Uma. She is a gynecologist and she does robotic surgery. She's in the US. Then over there is Shiva. I still remember he used to always say, मेरे लिए कुछ बाबा नहीं करते, and presently he's in Boston. He's a neurologist. Then that is Shankar. Shankar's wife Rekha is very much here, and Shankar is a practicing doctor, internal medicine, practicing in Nagpur, and the youngest one is Vichi. I have taught all of them except Ishwar, who was an engineer. They were all from the Institute of Science. They did the inter-science and then joined the medical college. I still remember whenever I went to medical college, all those young dogs used to come gather surrounding me. Madam, you have taught us. That's the charm of being in the Institute of Science. Then Vichi, he was a radiologist and he retired as wing commander in the Air Force. And he had established his own company, the BSF Ventures. So those are his students. Over there is Dr. Madhavan, and this is how Madhavan looks now. Then that is Chaudhary, Patil and Chaudhary. Dr. Patil is from this very department as professor of zoology. And then you have Dr. Fansarkar. He retired as the principal of Mohta Science College. Dr. Thakur retired as principal of Islam College. Then Dr. Murar, he also retired as principal of Mohta Science College. Mrs. Sabkar, of course, the Institute of Science, she was the director. Then that's Dr. Khaparde, he was the joint director of NCERT Delhi. Then Dr. Bhugade, professor of zoology from Bombay University. Then Dr. Bhalchandra from our own department, that's me. I retired as professor of zoology and presently I told you about myself. Then that's Dr. Jivaji, he was the principal at Ambedkar College. Dr. Rajgopal was the head of the department of Purwal College, zoology department. Then Dr. Deepa Jamwal from Islam College, Mrs. Rangaraju, and Muni Khan from this very department. Those are all his students. Those are the photographs that I could get so far. Now, ours was a BATI department. Most of his students were from bat biology, mostly embryology. And for those who did bat collection, this was the most exciting part of their lives. That's Nilima, one of his postdoc students. She tells me that she and Satwan, they used to stay in Jalgaon in some relative's place and go to Burhanpur and Asimgarh. And then it was too far away, so they lived in Burhanpur in a Gurudwara. And Sir had given them a knife-like thing with a cover so that it looks like a stick. And he used to make them practice removing that sword-like thing back and forth to protect them from two-legged and four-legged creatures, he said. So that's how it was. They had to climb Asimgarh to collect bats. And Dr. Jibaji collected his bats initially from Elephanta Cave. He used to go by Calcutta Mail in the morning, go for bat collection and come back in the evening. This he did for 3 months. He sent the specimens to the to the British Museum of Natural History, and he was told that it was not the specimen that he wanted. It was not spurious, Hippocetus spurious, but Hippocetus fulvus. So he started the collection all over again from a mine in Chandrapur, and there he tells me that he could get only a few bats, but when some schoolboy said, took him 7 kilometers into the forest, and there was an abandoned Yellowstone mine during British era. So they crawled in and disappeared for 45 minutes. They didn't come back. So he got worried. But when they did come back, their pockets were filled with bats. So that's his story of bat collection. Bhide, he collected his bats from tunnel number 4 in Khandala. Dr. Gopalakrishna himself went to Khandala and showed them first where the bats were located. So these are all the places from where bats were collected. It was done with all sincerity of purpose, from Satara, from Burhanpur, from all over the churches and whatnot. Now there's a story where Sir was traveling in a train, and Nandu Andhare, a scribe, he met him. Sir told him that the government of Maharashtra is out to put cyanide fumes in the Ajanta and caves of Ajanta and Ellora because of the funky smell that was emanating from their droppings. And he warned them that the bats are a delicate part of the ecosystem, that they shouldn't do it. But they rubbished his idea and they fumigated with cyanide and killed all the bats. And the result was that after 6 months, the farmers in the surrounding area started agitating. They said that the crops are being destroyed by funny kind of insects. So again they went back to Sir. He said, you please restore the bats from Pithuragad, and only then things will be normal. They had to jolly well do it, and then things were normal. So now I must make a mention about his very close friend, Dr. Ian Das, who was also a sitarist. He used to visit us every year for examination, conduct of examination. And when his photograph was taken, Dr. Das insisted कि वो सिगरेट में से धुआं निकलता हुआ दिखना चाहिए मेरे फोटोग्राफ में. That's Dr. Das. While I was taking him back to Dr. Gopalakrishna's house after the examination, Sir's house was somewhere near the mental hospital. So I halted and I asked some passers-by where the mental hospital was. So Dr. Das, you know what he says? You see, not looking at you, but looking at me, they thought he needs to be taken straight to the mental hospital. One person who needs mention here is our attendant Gulba. He waited on a bench outside his room, always ready at his beck and call. Whenever in the morning he first entered the corridor, he used to shout, Gulba! And he had a very, very loud voice, I must say. So, you see, once flag hoisting was at the hands of our attendant Gulba on one occasion. I must make a mention that the purpose, the reason why we are here, all credit goes to Dr. Saxena and Vijayalakshmi Saxena, who were instrumental, and any person who was associated with Sir always had such great regard for him. And it is they who said that no, we must have a session dedicated entirely to Mrs. Sabkar and to Dr. Gopalakrishna, and that is why we are all here. And I cannot forget that just a few weeks ago, Rekha, who is here, his own daughter-in-law, she told me that Sir used to say that he is very proud of you, and he used to say that you are very sincere and very hard-working. So I felt very nice and happy when she said that. And I must also tell you that Sir used to call me daughter-in-law or Sunbai. The real daughter-in-law is here, but I was a daughter-in-law of the department. And Dr. Jibaji used to call him bridegroom because he was very handsome and he was young. So that's how we were in a family kind of thing, all living together, and all of us working very hard. And many lessons that we learned is that to do anything was today and now, not later. That's one thing we learned from him, all students, that nothing to be postponed, and that's how we are what we are.